Jennifer?
Thank you. It's a question of will and sin.
Yep.
Scenario. A person is damaged badly in their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
They have...
I would say that applies to pretty much all of us, but go on.
Yeah. This is just a scenario. Example. This person then has a stroke because of all the stresses that they have had in their life.
No, it's not caused by the stresses they've had in their life.
Oh, okay, sorry.
What is it caused by? It's caused by them avoiding releasing emotions that cause the stroke.
Yeah.
So it's not caused by all the pressures they've had in their life.
Okay.
So even our statements now are out of harmony with God's truth. Yeah. But go on.
Okay.
So they've made a choice to avoid emotions which have caused them to have a stroke.
Yes.
Yes.
So they get married.
Right. They still survived the stroke. Yep.
They survived the stroke. Yeah, sorry. They survived the stroke. They choose to get married.
Yes.
The partner of the one who had the stroke is told, be aware that he will exhibit behaviour of a 6-year-old from time to time, because that's what the stroke
caused, a destruction of the brain in a certain area. Yes. Yep.
Then he has
so now he's allowing the influence of another person, a change of their behaviour, in order to support the fact that he's had a stroke. So he's not taking responsibility for releasing the emotion.
No.
And he's also not taking now responsibility for that he's impacting somebody else's life with it.
Exactly. And then he has children.
Then he has children, yep. So now he's impacting some more lives.
So he's, and he has a whole lot of bad behaviour, including alcoholism and so forth.
Right, which are all choices.
Yes, okay.
Have got nothing to do with his stroke.
Yeah, but
what's the but?
Sorry.
They're all choices that have nothing to do with his stroke. Alcoholism caused by the suppression of sadness. He obviously wanted to suppress his sadness, which has caused him to gravitate towards alcohol.
Okay, yes. He is excused for his behaviour because
yes, and why is that?
His stroke.
Why does he get excused from his behaviour? Because everybody thinks physical illness means you've got to make allowances. No, it doesn't.
Yes.
Right, that's a false belief about love. No, a physical illness doesn't mean you have to make allowances. You've got to deal with the cause of the physical illness. The cause of the stroke, his own intention to suppress a whole heap of things using his intellect, right, which is his choice. Okay, so keep going.
But the child grows up to believe that daddy cannot help some of his behaviour.
Yeah, which is a heap of crap.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't know where. I just wanted. My question was about whether.
Can I say, Jennifer?
This person is in sinning.
Can I say this is an example of how much justification we have for the world's definition of love.
Okay.
Statement after statement after statement after statement, all going to a subsequent result when I have to correct every single statement because every single statement is out of harmony with God's definition of love. And this tells us how much we believe the world's viewpoint of love and the world's viewpoint of truth. We believe it so much that when we tell a story even, we're saying this happened because of that. No, it didn't. This happened because of that. No, it didn't. This happened because of that. No, it didn't. And in the end, if you trace all of these events back, you can see there's moment after moment after moment after moment after moment where we're already justifying the world's viewpoint of what's true here, right? That we could do the same with cancer. We could do the same with, some kind of accident that happened down the road. The reality is God's laws are perfect. All of these events are happening perfectly. And the reason why they're happening perfectly is because the law of attraction is perfect. And all of these events are happening perfectly, not only to help the person take responsibility, the person who's the centerpiece of these particular events, but also all the people around them have had attractions so that they address things that they're not taking responsibility for too. You follow?
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
And
I just wanted to clarify
sure.
that on the one hand, I grew up with that story.
Yes, I know.
On the other hand, I could see the hypocrisy.
Of
I
course.
could see that choices could be made and they weren't.
Correct. Because your
But-
dad didn't want to take responsibility, your mum didn't want to take responsibility, the doctors don't want to find out what the real cause is, and so forth and so forth. This is the trouble with even analysing anything in this world a lot of the times, is that there are error after error after error after error after error after error, and then we hope to be some kind of resolution after all that. Of course, the result is going to be pretty negative. Right, so yes, you now have the feeling, particularly with a male, you've got to do whatever they want. You've got to make allowances for them. If they make choices that are out of harmony with love, well, you've got to consider their physical limitations and so forth, and it's all a bunch of crap.
Thank you, I appreciate that, because I trusted my own intuition about telling truth, but then I became troublemaker for the family. So, but it's a whole big...
Yeah, and then of course got punished for that,
clarity.
right?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, nobody wants... The thing that many of you learnt in your childhood was that nobody wants to hear the truth. And that's why a lot of times you don't want to hear it yourself now and don't want to tell it. It's not true, of course, because inside of our soul there is a desire, an internal harmony with truth. We just need to recognise it, but it's not going to be there, and while there's so much error. And we tell ourselves these stories, honestly. This happened, that happened, this happened, that happened, not even understanding the causes of any of it. Yeah, and this is a big problem. Yep. Laura.
Would a beneficial exercise be I avoid personal responsibilities in my soul to start to find out the justifications, the excuses, and to work through?
Of course.
Through what the
Yeah, of course.
spoke about.
Yeah, of course.
Is it a thing of preclusion? Like, there's no point telling yourself to take the responsibility if that's already, so you've got to work through.
Of course.
Work through it. Yeah.
No, you can't change not taking personal responsibility just by willpower.
Right.
You know, that's why the majority of us don't do it. Like, we've been taught over, and this generation of children is taught it even more. Like, man, it's like full on when it comes to this generation of children, because many of the parents go, oh, I'm not going to be like my parents were. They were bossy and they were punishing and they belted the children. They controlled their will of time. I'm just going to let the children roam free. And before you know it, what does that teach them? There's no consequence, there's no penalty for bad behaviour. There's no sin in the process of doing what you want, right? There's no concern for love of other people. There's no concern for how other people feel about what you're doing and those kind of things. So while I'm saying you don't have to care about what people think and feel about the situation, I'm saying a person who loves certainly would be concerned about how other people are responding to their negative behaviour. So when someone comes up to me and says, look, you did this to me and you did that to me, the very first thing I do is go, okay, firstly, did I do those particular things? Secondly, what was my underlying motivation if I did do them? And what was my motivation? And were those particular things actually unloving from God's perspective? And if they were, then yes, I need to take full responsibility for the outcome of this particular event. But if my intention was loving, and I might not have even engaged it perfectly, but my goal intention might be loving, and my actions were loving in terms of it have a positive outcome, then them blaming me for this particular event, not on, right? You need to be able to work out those particular things for yourself. Yep. And the only way you're going to do that is by taking some responsibility for what's inside of you, obviously. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, if we go back to Kate and then back up the back to both girls.
Thank you. Just going back to the heavy feelings like some of us are experiencing in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So is that because I don't want to take personal responsibility for the things in my soul that are like open to oppression, so I'm now attracting spirits who are in an addiction with that, and because I haven't healed it, that's my issue of personal responsibility.
Yeah. So what I'm noticing is that most of you do not want to take personal responsibility for loving yourself. You don't. You want someone else to love you. You do not want to primarily be responsible for loving yourself. You see? So what that does is that opens you to all sorts of influences that are negative. You don't want to work through the issue as to why you can't love yourself. And so what you do is you avoid those by creating a whole heap of addictions where you want other people to love you and other people to tell you. You do this with me all the time, honestly. You want me to tell you what's wrong with your life. That's an addiction. That's out of harmony with love, actually. A person who's taking full responsibility and for the use of their will would actually work out what's wrong with their life. From God's perspective, you've got God with you all the time. You could choose to do that. But we don't choose it because we don't want to love ourselves. Because when we love ourselves, we feel initially when we try to love ourselves, we feel absolutely terrible. And the reason why is because it probably means that we feel no one else does love us, and we don't want to feel that emotion. Right? So what we do is we madly run around trying to get everybody to love us so that we can avoid the fact that we don't love ourselves. Because if you truly loved yourself and you truly felt you had some worth, you wouldn't be running around trying to get everybody to love you, would you?
No.
You'd love you, and so
you'd know the truth.
You'd know the truth. You'd start engaging that, and you would start wanting to act in harmony with that, obviously. And that means that you wouldn't need anybody to love you. But if somebody does love you, it also means that you would appreciate it. Most of you, when somebody loves you, you don't appreciate it at all because you have a demand that they should have in the first place. You don't see love as a gift, right? And this is all exercising your will to not see love as a gift, to not take personal responsibility that at some point you've got to learn to love yourself. And when you do, you'll feel completely different about that particular subject. And not only that, you won't care so much about what the world thinks of you when you go and do something they disagree with when you know it's in harmony with love. So it won't bother you then either, right? You want to ask more, Kate?
Can I ask another question?
Sure, you can.
Yeah, so I'm seeing that the problem of engaging my will to take personal responsibility, that has at its core, again, I don't want to feel my painful emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to engage my will to feel my painful emotions.
No, what you need to firstly do is engage your will to feel about why you don't want to feel your painful emotions. The soul has been made to feel its emotion, right? The fact that you're not feeling your emotion means that you don't want to, right? So I don't want to. Responsible. Be responsible. I don't want to. And then if you truly wanted to change your soul-based will, you'd have to release from yourself all the reasons why you don't want to. So that would mean discovering them. Why don't you want to get rid of this feeling that you don't want to feel your emotion? What are your beliefs about emotion that cause you to feel that you don't want to feel emotion? Use your will to access those beliefs.
Okay, yeah, that's an area I'm really resistive, so I can...
Yeah.
So then, I can see that if those blocks were not present anymore, then I might make a different choice. I might...
Not only that, you'd probably naturally feel the emotion.
Cool, well, that'd be...
So an emotion would come up without you almost even needing to access it because it's a natural state of the soul. It's only unnatural now because I've got this layer on top of it that says I don't want to do it. That's my will being exercised. I don't want to feel my emotion. So if you really want to change that will, the very first thing is you got to recognise that you're actually exercising your will to not want to do it. Right? Then you've got to work your way through why you don't want to do it. And that's where lots of beliefs come up, like, well, if I let go of emotion, other people will harm me. Other people will judge me. If I let go of emotion, the world will view me as an idiot, or I might go crazy. There's all sorts of reasons why we might have a will-based, soul-based will to not feel our emotion, and we need to work our way through those particular things. And during that phase, you can ask God for help, and God will tell you as much truth as you're open to hearing. And if you can't hear anything from God, then I don't want to do that either. I don't want to hear what the truth is. Why wouldn't we want to hear what the truth is about our emotion? Probably because we don't want to feel our emotion. There's no other real reason, unless we had faith that if we had faith that feeling our emotion is the way forward, then of course we would feel it. But it might be that we need to work on our faith and develop our faith, and we'll talk tomorrow about how to do that. But the reality is, this feeling of don't want to, most of us don't want to feel. We want to tell ourselves, I do really want to, while at the same time our life is demonstrating, no, you don't. Let's get honest, you don't. All right, so be honest. I don't. Do I want to change that? Well, it's my choice to change that, not no one else's. It's not some indiscriminate thing or some spirit influence that's causing that state. That's me making a choice.
And when we're discovering the reasons why, I'm just trying to link it all together with the start part of your discussion as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, like, we've got to be careful that those are not excuses though, don't we?
Oh, of course we do.
Because you know how we were talking on the first days, like a lot of them are just justifying, like what I was sharing.
Yeah, the soul
how
says I don't
like
want to,
cope.
and so the mind says these are all the reasons why you don't want to, right? So these are all the reasons why it's a bad idea.
So how do we discover what the real reason is?
Well, you can see straight away we need to be more sincere, don't we? If we were more sincere, we'd be going, hang on a sec, I'm just telling myself a bunch of stories because I want to believe them so that I don't have to feel my emotion. So what's the real reason why I don't want to feel my emotions? What do I believe is going to happen for sure? You know, and this tells me, I haven't got much faith in emotion. I haven't got much faith in God. I haven't got, and therefore I can develop those particular things if I use my will to do so, if I really want to change. Can you see why the average person doesn't want to change? Is because the reality is the I don't want to is pretty majorly developed inside of us about many things that we believe are pain. Right? We have an aversion to emotional pain. We prefer, as I've said in the past in this presentation, we are so in aversion to emotional pain that we'd prefer to have physical pain rather than emotional pain. That's how bad it is. Some of us would rather die than feel emotional pain. A person with a stroke, a person with a heart attack, a person with a cancer, a person, all of these diseases that we've now, that demonstrate we're out of harmony with God's definition of love. All of those diseases are there because we don't want to feel some emotional pain, and we'd prefer to feel physical pain rather than feel emotional pain.
It's like extreme, the extent I'm just starting to see, like the intellectual extent, the physical extent that we'll go to just avoid.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is, and all the like I'm in a lot of confusion about it because, it's
sort of shocking in a way.
Even the confusion that I've created about like this is part
shocking.
of the don't want to, part of the resistance.
Yeah, and we really need to be honest about the I don't want to. We do. We need to get really real about that. But that again, getting real about that is an exercise of your will. Most of us would rather tell ourselves we're doing something when we're not doing something. We would. Right? We are great liars to ourselves, unfortunately. You lie to yourself. Why do you lie to yourself? Because it prevents emotion. We learnt that 3 days ago when we talked about truth, right? We don't want the truth because if we hear the truth, it will access emotion. We don't want to access emotion, so we don't want to hear the truth either. Even this issue of taking personal responsibility, we don't want to do that either. We want someone else to take responsibility for our life for a whole heap of emotional reasons. all of which are out of harmony with love. So they're all sin. Can you see the sincerity that's going to be needed if you want to progress with God? You're going to need to become a pretty sincere person in order to progress.